Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Hutchinson City Council meeting for Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. I'll call the meeting to order. Approve the council agenda. Any agenda additions or corrections?
Mayor, council, have any additions or corrections for him?
We'll move
Second.
the agenda.
Motion by Dave, second by Pat to approve the agenda as presented. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Well, Mayor, before we get to, is the camera on?
That's what I asked Matt.
I think HCDM was disconnected.
Because they were broadcasting a workshop.
Okay. Yeah, so we haven't changed our good. So. Carry on.
Okay.
Chad, it was that bad, they decided to take you guys' spaces out.
We're right here, we heard that. Invocation, our Savior's Lutheran Church, good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for coming.
Welcome. Let us pray. Your most gracious Heavenly Father, as you are the guardian of your people, we ask that you would be with the City Council this day, watch over the administration of our town, guide those who serve as leaders with purity and honesty of heart. Bless them with the wisdom and desire to serve our community faithfully, attend to their efforts, and permit them to experience the joys of noble service. Use every willing effort to bring forth a good government. And may your will be accomplished among us, and bless our council, to promote all things for the good of Hutchinson. We pray and ask in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Next to the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
recognition of gifts, donations, and community service to the city. Does anybody have anything tonight? Alrighty, public comment. Please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Alrighty, approval of minutes, regular meeting minutes of May 13, 2025.
Motion approved. Second.
Motion by Tim, second by Pat to approve as presented. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Will say nay. Motion carries. Consent agenda will be done with one motion unless somebody pulls something off for discussion. A is approval of resolution number 15869, resolution to dispose of surplus property. It's the water department. B is approval of resolution number 15870, resolution authorizing airport improvement grant continuation. C is approval of lease of turf tank, one anonymous line marker robot for price operation. And D is claims appropriations and contract payments, register A.
Motion to approve consent agenda 1.
Second.
Motion by Pat, second by Dave to approve the consent agenda as presented. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Consent agenda 2, I have a check on there for work I did out at the airport terminal, so I'll be abstaining from the vote.
Make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Dave to approve. With me abstaining. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Will say nay. Motion carries. We don't have a public hearing. Communication request petitions. We have the update from the River Song Community Festival Committee. There we go. Good evening.
Your turn, Dan.
Good evening. Okay, so a couple of things.
Oh, come on now. You got to tell us who you
Oh,
are.
okay, I'm Jen Johnson. interim right now. We've got some new people coming on board, but they just weren't able to take it over yet, so I'm still kind of doing things for it, so. So kind of similar to previous years, we've got the support of the Hutch Police Department. Because they've had some staffing issues, we have hired actually an individual to do the overnight security, Thursday and Friday night, and we had him last year and he worked out great. Stayed away, although I have to do say that that statue was out there, kind of scared the bejeebies out of him because I forgot to tell him there was a statue there. Somebody there, so that was kind of right. But we do have our liability insurance and our liquor license applied for, so that's all good. The dates are the 11th and 12th, and
Of July.
of July, yep. And it's still going to be the family friendly, so kids 14 and under can come in with paid adult. Something new that they did this year though is they have an early bird pricing, so until May 31st, tickets are going to be $40 for Friday and $45 for Saturday, and then after that they're going to increase $5. We have a weekend bundle, $75 for both Friday and Saturday, and that ends the 31st, so get your tickets early. And also the time on Saturday is going to change. We used to open at 11. We're now going to open it at 3. And go 3 till 11. So we just found that it was just, we had a better crowd then. Let's see, what else? The West Gate opening for the campers, especially on the electrical side where they camp, we're going to keep that gate open because that's been working really well. People have been good about not bringing anything in or taking any alcohol out, and been good about going to the gate to get their wristbands and stuff. So we're going to continue with that and have that monitored. Do that. And then we have on the ledger, we have $8,734 left to pay on the stage. And unfortunately last year, it was Great Friday, and then we had that torrential downpour Saturday morning that got us scrambling for everything. So, and I do have, if I can approach, I've got cards here. Just
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, thanks so much.
just a reminder, get your tickets before June 1st, so you can give them at a little bit of a discount. So
Jan, why don't you tell the public what the lineup is?
the lineup? Okay. So, let's see. Friday night bands is Michael Shines. I'm going to butcher this. Sam McCleary and the Sweet Teas. Gold Pine. Hawthorne Ocean. Saturday is Deer Daddies, that's the big one. Wild Horses, The Orange Goodness, Johnny Clueless, and Woodson. So,
Michael Shines is almost 80s.
yeah, we've got, according to Betsy, ticket sales have been pretty good because of the lineup, so.
And you're gonna have food trucks there.
And we will have
Correct.
food trucks, I think we have
7.
seven food trucks, so, yeah, I know. So, come on out, enjoy.
And there are beverages of,
Yeah, we'll have beer and wine as well. We'll have a free water station again, so people can bring in empty containers to be filled at the water station. Yeah, come and go, they can't bring their own food in, but I think that's about it. If anybody else has any other questions? But come on out. If you haven't been out there, it is a fun event, and it's a great setting out by the river. So.
Sure.
Come on out. And if you aren't really sure, you can always volunteer for a stint, and then you get that day in free. So
is there still stuff for the kids, like there were always games and stuff, is that still?
so we're gonna have, we'll have like the putting green
Yeah.
out there, and some of those games, we don't have a kids
Okay.
thing
Yeah.
this year, just because last year was a little bit of a financial thing, so had to cut corners someplace, but we still have fun things for the kids to do, so. And the playground's there, so, and sand, I mean, who doesn't like sand?
The mothers when they go
I
home.
know, empty their shoes out.
Yeah.
But the camping is mostly filled. We've got some openings on Friday night, but we have campers coming in on Thursday. We actually put a half price on Thursday, which helped to fill some of those spots and coming in. It makes it a little bit easier too, so that we don't have to be monitoring it quite so much with people coming in, so it'll work out good. Any other questions?
So just reading off here, 2 stages,
Yes.
craft and domestic beer, local wine, food vendors, hydration station, free on-site parking, free bike check, and off-site campground.
Yep.
All right, looking forward to it.
All right, good.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, unfinished business. We have second reading and adoption of ordinance number 25-854, ordinance adopting section 93.415 of the Hutchinson City Code chickens.
Mayor and Council, at your previous meeting, you conducted a first reading of the ordinance. There's been no changes to the ordinance since the first reading, so it's in front of you tonight for consideration of a second reading and then adoption of the ordinance.
I make a motion to approve it.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Tim.
Just want to say that.
Yeah, well, and if you paid attention at all, I'm the dissenting vote on this, but also having seen that it's gonna go through, I wonder if we couldn't make an amendment that if people want the chickens, that they can do it as soon as the educational pamphlet or video is available from the University of Minnesota. So that, otherwise you're looking at possibly September. If that can become available earlier, you could get that done. And again, I'm a no vote here, but I think if you're gonna get these, you should be able to have a time frame to maybe get it done earlier.
That's a possibility. One of the reasons for the 3 months was just my conversation with Extension, who's going to be doing the educational piece. They had just lost somebody, and so they weren't sure exactly. Now, it could be ready before then. I'm not sure, and so I don't know if you could just
Amended to say when the extension education is
if you're
available.
going to pin in that mark.
Is that,
Well, so you can make it effective immediately if that's what you want to do, because the education component is in it, correct?
Yeah, it's in the ordinance.
Right, so that achieves what you want to have happen, right? As soon as they do the education portion, then they're good to go, right?
that was my intent, yeah, so that people.
I mean, I suppose you could do it with amendment of just, tribute to the ordinance here, where you take out the briefly waiting. Yeah, ordinance become effective 3 months after its final passage and publication. I mean, you could have the ordinance become effective upon publication, but just so the public realizes, we're not going to be issuing any licenses until the educational piece is ready, which may take a month or two. I'm not sure what the time frame is. So.
I would amend my motion to reflect that then.
All righty, so we have a motion on the floor.
So Chad made it, he amended it, so
Yeah.
Tim
And
second
Tim
would have
seconded it.
would have to approve the amended version of it.
Is there any other discussion?
He has to second it. Tim would have to second. Tim would have to second the amended version.
I guess.
I will
They didn't
second.
see your nod. Yeah,
There we go.
I seen a nod, but okay. I'll call the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay.
Nay.
Roll call. Tim?
Aye.
Dave?
Aye.
Yeah.
Nay.
Chad?
Aye.
Aye. Passes 4-1. Alrighty, moving on. Request for deferral of assessment for property at 490 Highway 70 East.
Mayor and Council, this item was discussed at your previous council meeting, and there was a motion to table it, or to table a decision on this to the meeting tonight, and so staff has brought this back in front of you for consideration. I think just two things to clarify since the last meeting. One, Mark, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I don't believe there's any legal authority for us to waive an assessment, but you can reassess something. And so with the request of, I think the owner's already paid $10,000, so you could reassess the assessment. And I think we've included in the packet a formula on what that would look like if you were to reassess it. And then just the second thing, this was talked about, there is no legal requirement for us to notify property owners after the assessments have been levied and or deferred. But as we talked about, that is something we are looking to do in the future. Otherwise, I guess it's in front of the council for last discussions. I know Mr. McDonald was at the previous council meeting and addressed the council. So if you had any other additional questions or comments, otherwise it's really in front of the council to make a decision on the request.
I'm leaning towards to deny it. That's what's the feeling of the council?
I would make a motion that we deny just because of the precedent we'd be setting in regards to other properties that are currently in deferment, or while I sympathize with Ian, it wasn't on the city to take this upon ourselves to rectify this. It's been brought to us, and that's the motion I stand by, that it's denied.
I'll second it.
Motion by Pat, second by Dave to deny the request. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. New business, construction manager at risk to Rice Lake Construction for wastewater treatment facility solid improvements.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm going to do a couple of introductions, and then we'll take just a few minutes to basically just provide a high-level overview of the information that was in your packet. First, I want to start by introducing Bruce Brandel. Bruce has been with us since January. He is our new wastewater manager. Started and is doing a great job, and will be working with this project and if approved through the implementation. The other person, Jennifer Stennis, is here tonight. Jen has worked with this project since really 2019 and the conception of, and is very familiar with our facility, was very involved in the Headworks project, etc. Prepared the memo, again, that is in your packet tonight. And there are two themes we want to focus on. Is a little bit the scope changes. She's done a nice job of outlining those, but again, kind of get the high points of, as well as talk a little bit about the construction manager at-risk program delivery method and why we chose that for this project. It's a little bit new in that regard, and so we want to talk about kind of the reasoning behind that. So Bruce and myself will assist with maybe any questions you have, and I think Andy is also available in case of the finance aspect. As you saw earlier tonight in that presentation, we have quite a few reserves on hand. Good majority of the project will be covered with such, but there is the possibility of some additional funding in the form of bonding or borrowing that will be needed. And Andy can maybe go through the details of that as best we know it at this point, if awarded. So with that said, I'll have Jen take a few minutes to provide an overview, and then we'll stand ready for any questions you might have.
Hello, thanks for the opportunity to present tonight. I'm going to be talking about the solids improvements project, which involves the aerobic digestion and dewatering facilities at the wastewater treatment plant. These facilities are original to the late 1980s plant, and in 2019 we did a facility assessment to look at the needs of the plant. We evaluated the condition of the infrastructure, estimated the remaining useful life, and most of the processes in these buildings were planned to be upgraded in the years 2022 through 2025. The facility assessment was used, it prioritized the project and it was used to outlay the capital improvements plan that the city has for their budget. And there's been a bit of a change in cost environment since 2019, so that's a large part of the increases. There was some increases accounted for that over the last 5 years. But generally, I'll talk about the main items that are higher cost. So in the digester mixing and aeration part of the project, this general plan didn't change. However, the treatment technologies available for this system vary greatly in cost, and the technology that was chosen is thought to set the city up better for the long term. We want this, the improvements made in this project to last until 2050 is the design year. And with upcoming regulations for nitrogen and phosphorus and PFAS, this process has some additional controls and instrumentations to help with those challenges moving forward. The equipment for this process has increased over $200,000 since 2023, and the cost to furnish and install that equipment is about a $2 million price tag, which is far above the budgeted cost in the CIP. The next scope change was in the dewatering equipment. It was planned to rebuild the existing belt presses. However, with city staff, they wanted to review different technologies, which we did to make sure, again, that it's suitable for the next 25 years. So in that, centrifuges were the selected technology. The centrifuge equipment will dewater the solids further, which equates to less truck hauling costs. And so that is the best technology that we think will serve the city well over the upcoming years. And even though there was a large change in scope, the cost for that scope did not change very much. There were
Jennifer, can I just interrupt just quick?
Mhm.
For the council, one thing on the trekking side, there's actually been legislation that's been, I think, proposed or discussed about prohibiting cities from even doing that in the future. From land applying those solids onto farms and stuff like that. So I think that's an important aspect of when you look at this and what that technology can do with, if there's any less trekking that we have to do in the future, that may be of extreme benefit for us from a cost perspective. It's not known today, but if some of these rules go into play, that's gonna be a major factor for the city.
What will we be forced to do with that
Take it to a landfill.
as a bio-waste?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, yeah, less trucks, less volume going to the landfill will be less cost, of course. Hopefully we don't get to that point.
Yeah, but it's been discussed, so.
Yes, for sure. The next item are just the centrifuge feed pumps. So these were identified as needing to be replaced in this time frame. This might have been included in the CIP under the dewatering scope, but it's about $100,000 to replace those and the meters and valves around them, and they're heated. And then the last large scope item that changed was the boiler and HVAC systems in the building. The city had planned to replace the boiler and had allotted $150,000 for that. With the process, the extent of the process changes in this building, the air handling requirements have changed significantly as well. And it became clear that the air handlers and the hydronic piping, the unit heaters, all had reached their life expectancy, and rather than invest in modifying those to meet the needs of this project, it makes sense to replace those with current technologies and bring them up to today's standards. So all in all, those four large items are about $2 million above what the city had planned for improvements in this building. Now, because the scope and the price increased, we recognize that maybe a more creative project delivery method would be suitable. So we chose this construction manager or CMAR method, and that generally involves getting a contractor on board through the pre-construction phase to get their input through design, to get an accurate cost model, to know exactly where, the large cost impacts are, and then we can fine tune the scope with them through construction. So we've done that. We're through the pre-construction phase and the design phase, and we're at this guaranteed maximum price proposal. And we're requesting approval on that tonight to proceed to the construction phase. So the CMAR method advantages consist of more transparency in the costs, so we know where the money's being spent, and the city has the opportunity to react and decide if certain scope items need to be trimmed or if they can be expanded as budget allows. It turns out that everything we laid out as what we think is the best long-term plan for this project. There wasn't a lot of opportunity to trim that scope, a big, obvious, take that out and it'll still be a good project for the city. So, but at least the city has the opportunity to see exactly what scope items are and what they cost. And we also have the ability to select and collaborate with qualified and experienced contractors. And especially when a project is complex, as most projects at wastewater plants are, because you can't turn them off. You got to keep the process running. You got to keep meeting their limits all through construction. That contractor flexibility and innovation in a project like this was attractive. And this method reduces change orders in construction because they give you a guaranteed maximum price that considers a contingency and the risk involved in their pricing, so that contingency is what covers any small change orders through construction. It's also a more flexible contracting method when contractors are busy, and there were several projects earlier this year, late last year, that were getting one or no bids because the contractors were so busy, so we did not want that to happen here. So, yeah, I'm going to skip through a few of my notes. So we're at the point where we're asking for the approval of the GMP, and after this is executed, the contractor develops that GMP based on quotes they receive. And after this is executed, they'll go out and competitively bid each one of those packages, and only qualified bidders are invited to bid on it. And Rice Lake, being that they're a contractor that does this type of work, there are some bid packages they would like to self-perform. They also have to compete on those packages, and we need to evaluate those. So once those bid packages come in and we have the real cost that is reconciled with the quotes they have received, and any differences in those costs just gets thrown into the contingency bucket and can be used for potentially owner-directed scope items if they want anything additional done in the project, such as painting or things outside the scope of the project. Last thing I want to note is that this GMP does not account for tariffs, since the extent of those are not known, and the impact of those may not be realized for a year from now when the equipment arrives at the port. So rather than try to guess at a number, we feel a better approach is to not include them and to make the suppliers provide documentation on the difference in their quotes from now versus when a tariff might be implied, and then there'd be no fees or contingencies or anything added to that. So that's the caveat with a process like this. There is reduce change orders for sure, but when something unanticipated happens, that's when a change order might come up.
There's one, I will say this is a new method for us, construction manager at risk. We did construction manager at the police station, it wasn't at the at-risk portion of it, so it's a little bit new for all of us, but I think it's something that it's become a little bit more, I'm trying to think of when was that maybe 10 years ago the state, I think, allowed local governments to use this method, maybe not quite that long ago. And so it's something that we felt this would be a great project to start with, just because of the complexities of wastewater facilities, and instead of trying to fit something like this out.
Did I understand you say there's a contingency built into that?
There is. And any unused contingency at the end of the project is returned to the owner. So,
Yeah, what wastewater, half the stuff she says is like over our head, so. Understood some of it, but,
Just over yours, you're short.
yeah, that's right, I guess.
We're essentially improving the
That's what
process.
you're wanting.
I'm guilty of being a little too technical with that, so we're really trying.
Well, you sound pretty confident, we appreciate that.
So, thank you.
Mike, did you want to speak to just the overall, what we plan, what our goal is with this project, the overall objection, I guess, of why we're doing this and why we're asking the council to do it now?
Yeah, Jen, again, I think alluded to it well. One, it does future-proof in a lot of ways, gets us a plant that probably carries us through 2050, keeps us ahead of changes we might see on the biosolids. Trucking, again, is a big factor because it wouldn't go just to Spruce Ridge, it would go to a specialty facility somewhere to be determined in the state. So trucking could become a very big cost prohibitive factor. So being able to account for that better with the centrifuge option versus the belt presses is big. And then the regulations, and we talked about at length, Ned alluded to again tonight, this positions us as well on that front as possible. So it does do a lot of future proofing for us. One of the things that we're mindful of the cost and the added cost, and so we will be doing a bit more of an in-depth look at the CIP as it pertains to the wastewater plant this year. We have clarifiers that are probably next on the list for bigger ticket items. Those may be ones that have to shift a little bit, but certainly with Bruce's background in maintenance and this being the fourth plant he's worked at, he comes with a new perspective. So it does give us a chance to kind of reevaluate that, and then again along with Jen's perspective and staff. But we do think this is a good project at this time. An outstanding contractor who's got good familiarity with the plant also.
Thanks, Mike.
Is it, just a quick, is it Illinois and Maine right now that aren't allowing biomass to be, that has to go to a facility?
I'm almost
There's two
sure
states
it's
right now.
Maine. It is one in the northeast, and I think Maine has got the most restrictive, and then Illinois has probably done the most on this front also. I don't know if it's near as restrictive as it is in Maine, but I'm almost sure it is Maine, Tim, that is.
I'm almost sure I read an article about just the
Yeah,
astronomical thing.
or where you can't apply biosolids, you
Yeah.
can't land apply. Yeah.
Anything else?
I make a motion to approve the project. Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Pat to approve the project. Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Both say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Setting a joint workshop with the Hutchinson Utilities Commission and the EDA Board for June 4th, 2025 at 7 a.m.
The Mayor Council, there's been some discussions for the past month or two to have a kind of a joint workshop with all three bodies. This appears to be the best time, so bright and early at 7 in the morning. Maybe that's late for some of you, but we'll meet right here.
It's the middle of the night in the outdoor industry, so.
We'll meet right here in the council chambers. And so.
Yeah, I've got about an hour and a half in by then, so yeah.
I make a motion to set that meeting.
Second.
Motion by Chad, second by Pat to set that meeting. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Nay. Motion carries. We have minutes reports from committees, boards, or commissions. We have the Hutchinson Public Library Board minutes from March 24th, 2025. The Hutchinson Utilities Commission minutes from March 26th, 2025. The Hutchinson Housing Redevelopment Board minutes from April 15th, 2025. City of Hutchinson Financial Report and investment reports for April 2025. Chief Gifferson, you have anything for us tonight?
Nothing.
I have something for you, as long as I'm, I gotta ask you this so I can go home tonight. I don't think there is, but is there any speed limit on e-bikes on trails?
Not in the city of Hutchinson. That's about all I can tell you. That's my only frame of reference at this point.
The council could, you could establish speed limits now.
How do we police that? That's the hard
Well,
part.
yeah, that's the whole problem. Me and Chief had a conversation about that. I mean, how would you police it? But like I said, I would bring it up, otherwise I can't go home.
My suggestion to you all is if that's something you desire,
Yeah.
then you do your part and we'll figure out how we're going to do our part. But I will say it would be difficult. I don't think this thing's on either, but so it would be a difficult task. Some of the things we talked about.
Right.
Our park patrol officers have no authority to take any action other than report what they see. So if you're chasing somebody at 25 miles per hour down the loose line, that's not real safe either.
No.
But
So, I don't know. What do you guys think? I mean,
Well, I think there needs to be some education somewhere along the line. Just an incident that me and my wife were in the park, and this e-bike came up behind me, and the kid couldn't have been more than 10 or 12 years old, maybe 10, and he passed me like I was standing still because I was doing 10, and and then again, didn't follow traffic guidelines, didn't stop at the stop sign, just buzzed right through the stop sign. So there's got to be some education somewhere that could be put out there that, you're regulated by the rules of the road one way or the other, so, it needs to be followed.
Unfortunately, I think the people that are going to be jackasses on e-bikes are going to be jackasses regardless of any educational efforts we make. It's just like drivers or whoever, but the people that are going to follow the rules are going to follow the rules, and people that aren't. But that 10-year-old isn't going to read a pamphlet, mail them out,
Yeah.
Well, it comes back
Especially
to
when
parents.
there's no license requirements for riding an e-bike, so how do you then require somebody to do an educational piece?
I think we've talked about it before too. The difficult thing is there's different classes of e-bikes. It's almost impossible to tell
Differentiate.
between them.
well, you can't tell from looking at them.
Right. So, basically, all you either using your best judgment to discern the speed they're traveling, or somehow be able to get a radar on them to actually find out how fast they're traveling. The state has prohibited, I believe it's class 3. Is it just 2 classes or 3 classes?
There's 3 classes. Class 3s will go 28 with a throttle.
Right, and so those are prohibited from state trails. But 20 miles per hour on the loose line when you're walking or riding a traditional bicycle is cooking quick.
So I think the challenge is, from the council, like I said, we can go ahead and we could adopt speed limit signs for trails. So how are you going to enforce that?
Well, it would be the same as speed limits on the streets.
On the streets,
I mean, people either are gonna follow it or not.
But at least when you're on the streets, we have a squad car that's on the streets.
Yeah.
We don't have bike patrol on trails with,
Yeah, radar detector.
It would create awareness if nothing.
That's what
You
I
know,
thought.
when people would be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be going 28 when this family's walking their chihuahua here, you know, but,
And maybe just some signage, not even just speed limit signage, but just,
yeah.
hey, be respectful signage. Remember, it's a multi-use trail, that type of thing.
That's where I would go with it.
20-mile-per-hour max or something. They wouldn't have to adhere to it, but it would give you a suggestion. Maybe not.
Just like regular speed limit signs,
Yeah.
right? Yeah.
Day and night, you know, you got no.
Maybe Matt, you could maybe have Lynn look into that, see if
we
there
can
is.
talk about it, yeah.
I'd be happy to.
Maybe see what some of the other communities
I was
are
gonna
doing,
say,
so.
Are there other communities having the same issue?
I mean, there's other communities that have, I've been to other communities that
Minneapolis
have.
has a speed limit, I think it's 10, everybody goes more than 10, but
What about like Carver and their pathway out there, do they have limits on that?
I don't know if the Dakota Rail has a speed limit or not.
And I would venture to guess any community that has urban trails has the same problem.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, bicycle.
Well, even mountain biking, it's, because most mountain bike trails are designed around that 8 to 10 mile an hour, and then you get a guy that's ripping 20 mile an hour on his e-bike, and it's fine as long as everybody's cool, but when people aren't cool, then it's very dangerous, so.
All right, thanks, Chief.
Stick these folks.
That's about.
Andy, you got something for us
I
tonight?
got one thing, if you don't mind.
All righty.
Kind of backs up to that last agenda item. I just wanted to make sure you guys are all aware with that sewer project you just approved. Very healthy reserve, $7 million. Is this on? Oh, sorry. So we do have healthy reserves, but we're going to have to be looking at issuing debt for a $5.1 million project when we were expecting more around $2.4 million. So kind of a surprise that hit us here this year. But it's going to have a ripple effect. We were looking at tapping into the sewer fund for interfund loans for other city needs, the ladder truck, the apartment TIF down at the river. We were looking to front costs on that development with the sewer fund. So just letting you guys know, we're gonna have to be exploring other alternatives potentially than tapping into the sewer fund, which might mean I'll be coming to you to look to increase the debt levy or using other reserves. But at this point, it looks like we'll be issuing debt for the sewer fund and issuing debt, more debt than we were expecting for the ladder truck.
And with the sewer fund, that's all, I mean, that's not a taxpayer, that's just covered by the.
Those are user fees, yes, and I would hate to still tap into it to the point where we'd have to raise rates just because we're using it for other projects. But we have used it for other projects in the past. We used water and sewer funds to upgrade the liquor store back in 2006, I believe. So there's a, it's a good source of funds to do stuff with, but we don't want to tax the sewer fund unnecessarily. So we'll put some scenarios together and talk further this year.
So the project went from, what was it, Mike, when you kind of started figuring it?
2.7 is what was captured in the CIP.
That was 2019 though.
Yeah, yeah.
So, it's 5.2.
Correct, so nearly doubled. Yeah. But it is what it is. But we just have to look at how to fund these other items now.
All right. Thanks, Andy. Mike, you got anything for us?
I don't think so.
How about on the construction site or end of the streets? See Hassan,
Yeah.
they're like gophers out there.
Yeah, they're doing well. Jerpy actually, I think today finished all the underground work on Hasson's, which again, First Avenue will wait until after Dairy Days and then take that surface up and then resurfacing at some point here over the next month. So that project's tracking very well if the weather continues to hold. And then again, Dale will start late next week after school is out along with Stony Point. So, but yeah, so far so good. We've had a good season.
Good. Thank you. Mark, you got anything for us?
Anything else tonight?
Dave, let's start with you.
I had a meeting with the RTTC today, which is a subcommittee of the Minnesota Development Commission. It's about transportation, so it's an ongoing issue, day in and day out, no matter how you look at it, trying to find transportation that is compatible with all people's needs. So we're working on it. With the feds doing some cutting, why some programs had to be cut back, but trying to find other sources of funding, and maybe something will develop that will get us back on track again. But right now, that's about all I have, so thank you.
All right. Pat?
EDA meetings tomorrow, and then the Arts Council, there are new sculptures showing up, and then some library, by the post office, but some are trickling, they should be pretty cool. There are pamphlets that are printed up, and then there's one has some at the rec center, and there's also a chamber has pamphlets on where the actual sculptures are located in town.
All right, thanks. Chad?
I do not have anything extra.
Timmy?
On the library side, they've been doing a bunch of updates with the children's section, the book bins and those kind of things. They had the book discussion on that One Book, One Community that they have every year, the Gunflint Falling. That was held back in March, and then they had the author here at Cross Point back in April. So at least Mike had, I think it was you who had sent out the email on the Sustainability Committee. Can you just make a real quick comment on that, just so everybody's aware of when that's going to start over or start?
Yeah, I had shared with Councilmember Burley and others on the sustainability group, just kind of an update. We had a training session that had come along that we wanted to share with members. It was meant for community-based kind of sustainability groups. And then with that, the update, really kind of waiting until our city engineer arrives here in the next couple of weeks. June 16th is Brandon's first day. And then along with some other, staffing changes, and the folks are kind of settling into new roles. The hope is by fall that we kind of kick that group back off, with new leadership upon John's departure back in January. So hope to have kind of a renewed effort with that group. September-ish would be my hope.
Okay. Just want to make sure that I reiterated that correctly, and that always helps when you do it. Memorial Day, I was impressed with the amount of people who showed up. It was a great day, and thank you to the mayor for the words. So, and that's it.
Thanks, Tim. Matt?
Don't really have a whole lot. Obviously, we have the workshop that's scheduled for next week with HUC and EDA. If you have anything you'd like to see covered, specifically probably from the utility side, just kind of let me know, and we'll work on getting that. And then probably at our next meeting, we'll be looking to schedule another strategic planning session to kind of look at routing later this month, or later in June. So otherwise, that's it for now.
Well, I had HRA, not much note, just there's openings at the Park Towers, the apartments, so looking for a place to live, you can go put an application in there. Otherwise, we tend to have a resource allocation meeting, so the only other thing I had is been an uptick in vandalism at our parks and restrooms and stuff, and it kind of just makes me disgusted. We have nice stuff here and people have to vandalize it, which don't make sense to me, but I know it happens. Tim talked about the Memorial Day parade. Something really neat happened. They were playing taps and looked up in the air, and there was an eagle soaring around the park. Wish I could take credit for it, but it was really neat. Great attendance. So thanks everybody that attended and put effort in towards that. So
Should mention the new wall pieces that are up.
yeah, when the traveling wall is here, they swap out the panels, and the two centerpieces, one with 1959 on it, the 75, the two center panels got donated to the Veterans Park, and they did get them put up, and they're on display down there, so if you haven't seen them, stop down there. It's
It was the only time in 27 years they've ever left those panels in a community.
yeah. So we're very lucky to get them. So with that, let's go home.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Pat, second by Chad, to adjourn. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.